I'm standing in the break room of the company I built from absolute nothing. Glass walls, imported espresso machine, that clean, successful smell of leather and ambition. Watching my older brother Marcus refill the cheap coffee maker we keep for interns. He doesn't see me yet. He's wearing the same knockoff dress shirt he wore to every family dinner where he'd lean back, pat his stomach, and announce to everyone how I'd never amount to anything without the family name. But here's the thing about that family name, I don't use it anymore. I buried it 6 years ago, the same day I opened an envelope on my 25th birthday, my last birthday I ever spent with them, and pulled out a card. A birthday card, signed by every single person in my family, my mother, my father, Marcus, my sister Rachel, even my grandmother, whose signature shook across the bottom in her spidery handwriting. And inside, in my mother's pristine cursive, just one sentence, "We never wanted you." Not "happy birthday," not "we love you." Just 5 words that detonated every memory I had ever carefully constructed about belonging somewhere. Now Marcus works in my building, Rachel answers my emails. And my father, the man who told me I'd never survive a week without his money, just got denied a promotion by the department head I personally hired. This isn't a story about forgiveness. This isn't a story about rising above. This is a story about what happens when the black sheep stops running from the wolves and becomes the one they need to fear. So buckle up, because if you've ever been told you weren't good enough, weren't wanted, weren't worth it, and spent years wondering if maybe they were right, this one's for you. Before we dive in, if you've ever fantasized about proving every single person who doubted you spectacularly, devastatingly wrong, hit that like button right now, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications because the story you're about to hear, it's the kind of justice that makes your heart pound and your smile grow 3 sizes too big. Trust me, you'll want to hear every single word. Let me take you back to where this really began. Not the birthday, though we'll get there, but to the texture of my childhood, because you need to understand what it feels like to grow up as the afterthought in your own family. I was the accident, not the happy surprise kind, the whispered about at Thanksgiving kind. The kind where your older brother is 9 years older and your sister is 7 years older, and by the time you show up, your parents have already decided their family is complete. The photos are taken, the narrative is set, the roles are cast, and then there's you. My mother never said it out loud, not until that card, but I felt it in 1,000 invisible ways. The way she'd sigh when I asked her to come to my school plays. The way my father's eyes would glaze over when I talked about my interests, my dreams, my anything. The way Marcus got a college fund, Rachel got a car for her 16th birthday, and I got a gift card to Target, and a half-hearted "we'll see" when I asked about SAT prep courses. I told myself stories to survive it. They're just tired, they're just busy, they love me, they just don't know how to show it. I became the family helper, the peacemaker, the one who volunteered to do the dishes, to pick up groceries, to babysit Rachel's kids when she needed a break, even though she never once returned the favor. I thought if I could just be useful enough, helpful enough, invisible enough in my needs, and visible enough in my service, maybe they'd see me. Maybe they'd want me after all. And then came my 25th birthday. I remember everything about that day with the kind of clarity trauma grants you. Every colour sharper, every sound louder, every emotion fossilized. It was a Saturday in March, one of those grey spring days where the air smells like wet concrete and possibility. I woke up hopeful. Isn't that pathetic? 25 years old and I still woke up hopeful that this year they'd remember. They'd care. They'd show up. I'd dropped hints for weeks, casual mentions. Oh, my birthday's coming up. I'll be 25 soon, quarter century, can you believe it? Nothing. But I told myself they were planning a surprise. I showered. I put on the dress I'd been saving, this soft blue thing that made me feel pretty, feel seen. I did my makeup carefully. I even baked myself a cake the night before because, well, someone should, right? At noon, my phone rang. Rachel. "Hey," she said, that distracted tone she always used with me, like I was an automated message she had to get through. "Mum wanted me to drop something off. I'm outside." My heart jumped. This is it, I thought. The surprise. I ran downstairs. I actually ran like a kid on Christmas morning and opened the door. Rachel stood there in her yoga pants and oversized sunglasses, engine still running, holding a small envelope. "Here," she said, shoving it toward me. "I'm late for SoulCycle." "Wait, is everyone coming over later or coming over?" She looked confused, then something clicked. "Oh, it's your birthday? Shit, I forgot. Well, happy birthday, I guess. Okay, gotta go." And she left. Just left. I stood there holding the envelope, listening to her SUV disappear down the street, and told myself it was fine. The card would explain everything. I went inside, sat on my second-hand couch in my tiny apartment, the one I could barely afford on my administrative assistant's salary, and opened it. It was one of those generic drugstore cards, flowers on the front. "Happy birthday" in gold script. I opened it, and my entire world inverted. "We never wanted you." My mother's handwriting. Below it, signatures. Dad Marcus, Rachel, Grandma Jean. Even my Aunt Karen, who I barely saw, had signed her name. No explanation, no context, just a collective, written, signed declaration that I was unwanted. I read it again and again and again, like maybe the words would rearrange themselves into something bearable. They didn't. My hands started shaking, then my whole body. I don't know how long I sat there, could have been minutes, could have been hours, but at some point I called my mother. She picked up on the fourth ring that clipped yes, she reserved for telemarketers. "Mum," I said, and my voice cracked. "I got the card." Silence. Did you mean it?" More silence, and then, "God, I'll never forget this," she sighed, like I was inconveniencing her. "Sweetheart," she said, and even that word felt like a slap wrapped in velvet. "I think it's time we were honest with each other. You were unplanned. We'd moved on. We did our best, but, well, you've always known you were different. We thought writing it down might give you closure." Closure? "We're not trying to be cruel," she continued. "We just think it's healthier if we all acknowledge reality. You're an adult now. You don't need us anymore, and frankly, it's been exhausting pretending." I couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. "Anyway," she said brightly, "I have book club. Take care of yourself." And she hung up. I sat there with the dead phone against my ear, and something inside me, something I didn't even know was holding me together, just snapped. Not into rage, not yet, into clarity. Crystal, brutal, liberating clarity. They were never going to love me. They were never going to see me. They were never going to change. And I was done, completely, utterly done, spending my life begging for crumbs from people who saw me as a mistake. I looked at the card one more time. Then I did something I'd never done before. I made a plan. Not a revenge plan, not yet. A survival plan. A plan to become someone who would never, ever need their approval again. I taped that card to my bathroom mirror, and every single morning for the next 6 years, I looked at it and whispered the same thing. Watch me. Here's what nobody tells you about rock bottom. It's weirdly, brutally freeing. When you have nothing left to lose, no family to disappoint, no love to chase, no belonging to earn, you can finally stop performing and start building. That Monday after my birthday, I didn't cry. I went to work at the insurance company where I was a glorified paper pusher, and during my lunch break, I Googled how to start a business with no money. I know, it sounds naive, desperate, maybe even stupid, but desperation is a hell of a motivator. I'd been working in administrative operations for 3 years, and I'd noticed something. Every single company I temped for had the exact same problems. Disorganized onboarding, inefficient project management, communication breakdowns that cost thousands in lost time and errors. And everyone just accepted it. like inefficiency was some unavoidable cost of doing business. But I'd spent my whole life making myself useful, making systems work, fixing things quietly in the background so other people could take credit. What if I stopped doing it for free? What if I stopped doing it for them? I started small. Weeknights and weekends, I taught myself project management software, operations strategy, database architecture, anything I could learn through free YouTube tutorials and library books. I lived on ramen and black coffee. I cancelled my Netflix subscription, stopped buying new clothes, gave up every tiny luxury I'd used to make my sad little life feel less sad, and I started reaching out, cold emails, LinkedIn messages. Hi, I noticed your company struggles with X. I have a solution. Can we talk? 99 rejections for every one reply. But that one reply was a small startup willing to pay me $500 to streamline their client intake process. I did it in a weekend. They saved $10,000 in the first month. They referred me to another company, then another. Within 6 months, I had quit my soul-sucking day job and was running a legitimate consulting operation out of my apartment. Within a year, I had hired my first employee, a brilliant woman named Tasha, who'd been overlooked at every corporate job she'd ever had because she didn't fit the culture. She fit my culture. We built something together that had nothing to do with being wanted and everything to do with being essential. Within 2 years, I had an office, a small one, sure, 3 rooms above a dry cleaner, but it was mine. I called the company Resolve Operations Group because I had resolved to never be powerless again. And business? Business was good, really good. Turns out when you spend your whole childhood fixing broken family systems, you get really good at fixing broken corporate ones. By year 3, we were managing operations for 26 clients. By year 4, we'd expanded into organizational development and leadership training. By year 5, I had 70 employees and an office downtown with my name on the door. Not my family name, my chosen name. I'd legally changed it, taken my grandmother's maiden name from my father's side, the grandmother who'd signed that card but who'd died before I could ask her why. I became Ellison Gray, and Ellison Gray was someone nobody underestimated. But here's the thing about success. It doesn't heal you. It just gives you better armor. I still thought about them, my family, wondered if they'd heard about my company, wondered if they ever thought about me, wondered if they regretted it. I told myself I didn't care. I told myself I'd moved on. I lied. Because every time I closed a major deal, every time I hired someone new, every time I saw my company name in a business journal, there was this tiny, pathetic voice in the back of my head whispering, would they be proud of me now? Would they want me now? And then, year 6, on a random Tuesday in October, I got an email that changed everything. Subject line, application for senior operations manager position. I almost deleted it. We got hundreds of applications for every role, but something made me open it. And there, in crisp professional font, was a name I knew better than my own, Marcus William Hartley, my brother. I had to read it 3 times to believe it. He'd applied to work at my company. He had no idea. Why would he? I'd changed my name. I'd disappeared from their lives as completely as they'd disappeared from mine. I hadn't attended a single family event, hadn't responded to the one half-hearted, we should catch up sometime message Rachel had sent 2 years prior. I was a ghost to them. And Marcus, arrogant, condescending Marcus who'd spent my entire childhood telling me I'd never make anything of myself, had just submitted his resume to the ghost. I sat at my desk, hands trembling, staring at his smiling headshot. And for the first time in 6 years, I let myself feel it. The rage, the grief, the savage, bone-deep hunger for vindication. I opened his resume. He'd been at his last company for 8 months. Before that, 11 months. Before that, 6. He was a job hopper with an inflated title and mediocre references. He'd listed our father's company as a reference. Of course he had. I should have deleted the application right there. I should have been the bigger person. But here's the truth. I didn't want to be the bigger person. I wanted to be the reckoning. So I forwarded the application to my HR director with a single note. Bring him in for an interview. I'll conduct it personally. The interview was scheduled for a Thursday at 2 p.m. I spent the entire week leading up to it in this strange state of hyper-focus, part terror, part exhilaration, part disbelief that this was actually happening. I told myself I was doing this for closure. I told myself I just wanted to see his face when he realized who I was. I told myself I wouldn't hire him. I told myself a lot of things. On Thursday morning, I changed outfits 4 times. Too casual. I'd look like I was trying too hard to seem unbothered. Too formal. I'd look like I was compensating. I finally settled on the navy suit I'd worn when I gave the keynote at the National Operations Conference, the one that made me feel like power incarnate. I wore my hair down, professional but softer. I wanted him to recognize me, but slowly. I wanted to watch the realization dawn. At 1:55 p.m, my assistant buzzed. "Ms. Gray, your 2 o'clock is here." I took a breath, then another. "Send him in." The door opened, and there he was, Marcus. Older, greying at the temples now, lines around his eyes, but still carrying himself with that same self-assured swagger, that same assumption that the world owed him something. He walked in with his hand already extended, ready to charm, ready to perform. "Hi, I'm Marcus Hartley. Thank you so much for—" He stopped. I watched it happen in real time, his brain trying to place me, the slight squint, the head tilt. I didn't help him. I just gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Please sit." He sat, still staring, still trying to solve the puzzle. I let the silence stretch. Finally, I smiled, the polite, professional smile I'd perfected in 1,000 boardrooms, and said, "You look confused. Do we know each other?" I'm sorry, you look really familiar." "Do I?" I leaned back in my chair, fingers steepled. "Well, I have one of those faces. Shall we get started?" I opened his resume, made a show of scanning it. "So, Marcus, you've had quite a few positions in the last few years. Can you walk me through why you've moved around so much?" He launched into his prepared answer, something about seeking growth opportunities and expanding his skill set, but I could see him still trying to place me. I let him talk. When he finished, I asked, "And what made you interested in Resolve Operations Group specifically?" "Well," he said, sitting up straighter, "you're one of the fastest growing companies in the region. I've heard great things about the leadership here. I think my experience would be a real asset to your team." "Interesting," I said, "because according to your references, you struggled with accountability at your last 2 positions. One manager noted you had difficulty taking direction from leadership, particularly female leadership. Can you speak to that?" His jaw tightened. "I think that's a mischaracterization. I'm a self-starter. Sometimes that's interpreted as resistance, but really it's just initiative." I made a note on his resume, let the pen scratch fill the silence. Then I looked up. "Tell me about your family, Marcus." He blinked. I'm sorry, is that relevant?" "I like to understand what shapes a person. Family dynamics can be very telling about how someone operates in team environments." "So, tell me about your family." He shifted in his seat. Sure, I have a younger sister, Rachel. Great relationship. My parents are both still around. Dad ran a regional distribution company before he retired. Well, semi-retired. I learned a lot about business from him." "Any other siblings?" Pause. "No," he said. "Just the 2 of us." Just the 2 of us. I felt something cold and sharp slide between my ribs. "No one else?" I pressed, my voice light, curious. "Nope, just me and Rachel." I smiled, set down my pen, leaned forward. "That's so funny," I said softly, "because I could swear there was someone else, someone younger, someone you used to call, what was it, the accident." I watched the colour drain from his face. Someone you told more than once that she'd never amount to anything without the family name, someone who was just erased. Do you remember her, Marcus? His mouth opened. No sound came out. Let me help you, I continued, and now I wasn't smiling anymore. Her name was Natalie Hartley, and she was your sister, your youngest sister, the one you and Rachel and your parents decided didn't quite fit the family portrait. Recognition hit him like a freight train. Oh my God, Natalie! Not anymore, I said calmly. Ellison Gray, nice to meet you properly. He looked like he might throw up. This company, you run this company. I built this company from nothing, with no family money, no connections, no help from anyone whose last name I used to share. Turns out I didn't need you after all. Funny how that worked out. Marcus was gripping the arms of his chair now, knuckles white. Nat, Ellison, listen, I don't know what you think. I don't think anything, Marcus. I know you spent 25 years treating me like an inconvenience. I know you never once defended me. I know you signed a birthday card telling me I was never wanted. His face went from white to red. That was Mum's idea. We were just what? Following orders. You were 34 years old. You had a choice. Silence. He slumped back in his chair, and for just a second he looked small. What do you want? He finally asked. You want an apology? Fine, I'm sorry. We were shitty to you. You're right. We were awful. Is that what you want to hear? I studied him. No, I said quietly. An apology now is worthless. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry I saw it. I stood up. This interview is over. Thank you for your time. He stood too, frantic now. Wait, please. I need this job. I've been out of work for 3 months. My wife is pregnant. We have a mortgage. I'm drowning here. You're drowning, I repeated flatly. Please, I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I held up a hand. He stopped. I walked around my desk, stood directly in front of him. Marcus, I said, do you remember what you told me the last time I asked you for help? I was 22, working 2 jobs, trying to pay for night classes, and I asked if I could borrow $200 to cover my electric bill until I got paid. Do you remember what you said? He shook his head, eyes down. You said, maybe if you'd made better choices, you wouldn't be in this position. And then you went out to dinner. I saw the Instagram post, $60 steaks. I let that sit. I'm going to give you something better than you gave me, I said. His head snapped up, hope flickering. I'm going to give you honesty. Hope died. You're not qualified for this position. Your resume is inflated, your references are weak, and your track record shows you can't handle being held accountable. But more than that, I don't trust you, and I will never trust you. So no, Marcus, you don't get to work here. He opened his mouth to argue, then closed it. But, I continued, I'm going to do something else. I walked back to my desk, pulled out a business card, handed it to him. This is the name of a recruiter I know. She specializes in operations roles. She's good. Tell her I sent you and she'll work with you. That's all you're getting from me. He stared at the card like it might bite him. Why? He whispered. Because, I said, I'm not you. I walked to the door, opened it. Goodbye, Marcus. He left. I closed the door, and I stood there shaking, with rage, with grief, with the strangest, most unsatisfying sense of victory. Because I'd won. But it didn't feel the way I thought it would. It felt hollow. Until 3 weeks later, when everything changed, I didn't think about Marcus much after that interview. I'd said my piece, made my point, moved on. But apparently, Marcus went home and told the family everything. Because 2 weeks after our interview, my assistant forwarded me another application, Rachel Hartley Morrison, applying for our senior client relations manager position. I laughed out loud when I saw it. Actually laughed, alone in my office, until tears ran down my face. She had no idea either. I scheduled the interview myself. This time I didn't agonize over what to wear. I didn't rehearse what I'd say. I just waited. Rachel walked in on a Monday morning in a designer pantsuit I recognized from Instagram, carrying a leather portfolio that probably cost more than my first car. She shook my hand with that sorority girl confidence, ready to dazzle. "Thank you so much for meeting with me, Ms. Gray. I've heard incredible things about this company." I gestured for her to sit. "Have you?" "Oh, absolutely. You've built something really special here." I let her go through her pitch, 5 minutes of polished corporate speak about her passion for client engagement and her proven track record. Then I stopped her. "Rachel, can I ask you something personal?" She blinked, smiled uncertainly. "Sure." "Do you have any regrets?" "I'm sorry." "Regrets? Things you wish you'd done differently, people you wish you'd treated better." She laughed nervously. Sure, everyone has regrets, but I'm not sure. Do you regret signing a birthday card telling your little sister she was never wanted?" The colour drained from her face in exactly the same way it had drained from Marcus's. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Natalie." "Ellison," I corrected. "You're in my office, Rachel. You're interviewing to work for me. How's that for irony?" She stood up abruptly, hands shaking. I had no idea. Marcus said you were here, but I thought he was... What? Lying? Exaggerating? I leaned back in my chair. "Nope, it's really me. The sister you erased, the one who wasn't worth remembering." "Natalie, Ellison, that card it was a mistake. Mum was going through something, we all were, and..." "Stop," she stopped. "Don't insult me by lying. You were 32 years old. You had a master's degree. You weren't some child who didn't know better. You made a choice." Her eyes filled with tears. "I know, you're right. I'm so sorry. Are you sorry you did it, or sorry you got caught?" She flinched. "Here's what's going to happen," I said calmly. "You're going to leave my office. You're not getting this job. But unlike Marcus, I'm not giving you a referral. You're going to figure it out on your own, just like I did." "Please," she whispered. "I need this. My husband lost his job. We have 3 kids. Our savings are..." "Not my problem." "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly," I said, standing now. "You need help. You're desperate. You're scared. And the person you're asking doesn't owe you anything. Sound familiar?" She just stared at me. "That's what it felt like, Rachel. Every single time I needed you, and you weren't there. Every time I asked for help and you were too busy. Every time I tried to be part of this family, and you made me feel like an intruder." "I'm sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry." "I know you are," I said quietly. "Now you can leave." She left crying. I sat back down at my desk, and this time the hollowness was worse, because it still didn't feel like enough. Not until I got the 3rd application, William James Hartley, my father, applying for a consultant position in strategic development, and that's when I realised they weren't just desperate, they were financially ruined. I did some digging, easy enough when you have corporate resources and contacts. Turns out my father's semi-retirement was actually a forced buyout after his company tanked. Bad investments, worse management, a lawsuit from a former employee. He'd lost everything. The house was in foreclosure. Marcus was drowning in debt. Rachel's husband's job loss was actually a firing for embezzlement, minor enough to avoid charges, major enough to make him unhireable. And my mother had burned through her inheritance paying for Rachel's kids' private school and Marcus's legal fees from a DUI. The family that once had everything, money, status, security, had imploded, and now they were scattered, desperate, and applying to work for the daughter they never wanted. I could have rejected my father's application immediately. I could have been vindictive. Instead, I brought him in. I sat across from him in the same chair where I'd sat across from Marcus and Rachel, and I watched him try to sell himself to me. He didn't recognize me at first either, but when I said, "Hello, Dad," his entire face collapsed. "Natalie." "Ellison." You did all this?" "I did." He looked around my office, the awards on the wall, the skyline view, the evidence of a success he'd told me I'd never achieve. "I don't understand," he said quietly. How? I worked, I said simply. I worked harder than I've ever worked for anything. I stopped waiting for people to believe in me and started believing in myself. Turns out that was all I needed. He nodded slowly, eyes distant. I'm sorry, he said. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. And here's the thing, I believed him, not because he'd changed, but because losing everything had finally forced him to see me. I'm not hiring you, I said. He nodded. I know, but I'm going to do something else. I slid a folder across the desk. He opened it. Inside was a check, $50,000, and a contract. This is enough to cover 3 months of mortgage payments and basic living expenses, I said. The contract states you'll pay it back once you're financially stable, no interest, no deadline pressure, just an agreement. He stared at it, then at me. Why? Because you're my father, I said, and because I don't want to be the kind of person who leaves people to drown, even when they left me first. Tears ran down his face. I don't deserve this. No, I agreed. You don't, but I'm giving it to you anyway, not because you earned it, but because I did. He left with the check, and 3 days later I got a letter in the mail. From my mother, handwritten, on the same stationery she'd used for that birthday card. Ellison, your father told me what you did. I don't have the words to tell you how ashamed I am, how wrong I was, how much I regret every moment of your childhood that I wasted being afraid of you. Afraid of you? That sounds insane, doesn't it? But that's what it was. You were so different from Marcus and Rachel, so independent, so self-sufficient, so unbothered by us. I didn't know how to connect with you, and instead of trying harder, I pulled away. I convinced myself you didn't need me, that you were better off without me, that I was doing you a favor by letting you be independent. I was wrong. I failed you. We all did. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a relationship. I just need you to know I'm sorry. And I'm prouder of you than I've ever been of anything in my life. You were wanted, Natalie. You were always wanted. I was just too broken to show you. Mum, I read that letter 7 times, and then I put it in a drawer and closed it, because here's what I'd learned. Some apologies come too late, some damage can't be undone, but some victories aren't about revenge. They're about proving to yourself that you were never the problem. 6 months later, I'm standing in the same break room where this story started. Marcus is refilling the cheap coffee maker, not because he works here, because I hired him. Yeah, I hired him. Not as a senior manager, not in a role where he could coast on ego. I hired him as a junior operations coordinator, reporting to Tasha, my first employee, the woman who'd been overlooked her entire career. I gave him a chance, not because he deserved it, but because I could afford to. And you know what? He's good at it. He shows up on time, he takes feedback, he works hard. Because for the first time in his life, he has something to prove and no name to hide behind. Rachel didn't get hired, but I referred her to a friend's company, and she got a position there. Lower level, humbling, but stable. She sends me a Christmas card every year now. I don't respond. My father paid back the loan in 18 months. We have dinner once a year. Neutral territory, no expectations, just 2 people trying to find a way forward. My mother, we don't talk. Maybe someday, maybe never. I'm okay with both. Because here's what I figured out. The best revenge isn't making people suffer. It's becoming someone they can't touch. It's building a life so full, so successful, so deeply yours that their opinion becomes irrelevant. They told me I was never wanted. And you know what? They were right. I was never wanted by them. But I'm wanted by my team, by my clients, by the people I've mentored and hired and believed in when no one believed in them. I'm wanted by Tasha, who just became my VP of operations and cried when I told her. I'm wanted by the 43 employees who stayed late last month to surprise me with a birthday cake, a real one, with candles and singing and joy that wasn't performed or obligatory. I'm wanted by the version of myself I fought like hell to become. And that's worth more than their approval ever could have been. I look at Marcus now, watching him carefully measure the coffee grounds with the same precision he brings to his work these days. He looks up, catches me watching. There's a moment, brief, uncomfortable, where we both remember everything. The card, the interviews, the years of casual cruelty. Then he nods, just a small nod, not friendship, not absolution, just acknowledgement. I nod back, and then I walk to my office with my name on the door and my vision on every wall, and I sit down at my desk. The birthday card is gone from my bathroom mirror now. I don't need it anymore. I don't need the reminder of what they said because I have the evidence of what I did. Last week, we closed a deal that will make Resolve Operations Group the third largest management consulting firm in the state. Next month, I'm keynoting at a national conference on transformational leadership. Next year, we're expanding to 2 more cities. And the year after that, who knows? But it'll be mine. Every success, every failure, every risk and reward, mine. Built from nothing, built from rejection, built from a birthday card that tried to destroy me and instead became the foundation of everything I am. People ask me sometimes, interviewers mostly, the ones who've heard whispers of my unconventional background. They ask if I've forgiven my family. I tell them the truth. Forgiveness isn't the goal. Freedom is, and I'm free. Free from needing their validation, free from the weight of their expectations or lack thereof, free from the belief that I'm only worth what others decide to give me. I gave myself worth, I gave myself a name, I gave myself a life, and no one can ever take that away. So here's what I want you to take from this. If you've ever been told you weren't enough, that you weren't wanted, weren't worthy, weren't capable, I need you to hear this. They were wrong. Not because you're perfect, not because you'll never struggle or fail or doubt yourself, but because your worth isn't determined by people who are too broken to see it. Your worth is determined by what you build when everyone stops watching, by who you become when no one believes you can, by the life you create from the rubble of their rejection. I didn't win because I destroyed them. I won because I built something they could never touch. And you can too. Whatever that card was for you, whatever moment or person or word tried to define you as less than, you get to write a different ending. You get to be the plot twist they never saw coming. So write it, build it, become it. And when they finally see you, really see you for who you've become, you won't need their applause because you'll already know your worth. And that, my friends, is the sweetest revenge of all. If this story hit you right in the chest, if you've ever felt unseen, unwanted, or underestimated, and you needed to hear that you're not alone, that you're not broken, that you can rise, do me a favor, smash that like button so hard your screen cracks. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell because we tell stories like this every single week. Stories about people who refused to stay down, who turned their pain into power, who became the heroes of their own lives. And drop a comment below. Tell me, what's the moment someone underestimated you? What's the victory you're still working toward? What's the card you taped to your mirror? Let's build something together, a community of people who know that being unwanted by the wrong people is just the universe making room for the right ones. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep building, keep rising, keep proving them wrong, not because they're watching, but because you are.